Hello again, everybody. Jedrzejczyk is here, my UFC 193 review for tonight. Well, last night. Saturday night, November 14, 2015. It was, of course, live from the sold-out Etihad Stadium in Melbourne, Australia. Now, this is my first UFC review in a while. And overall, my first video in about 2 weeks. I've been on vacation for the last 2 weeks. I went to Atlanta and North Carolina. Just got back on Thursday. That was a fun trip. So you're going to see more videos in the next couple of days. But tonight, UFC, I haven't seen a UFC pay-per-view in about 3 months. The last UFC pay-per-view I saw had Ronda Rousey in the main event. And I didn't make a review of that because the overall main card, the undercard before the main event was like weak. In the main event, it was a 1-minute match. This card tonight, big improvement. The first 3 fights of the night, first fight was, second fight was good. Third fight, like the ending, but too short. The co-main and main were awesome, like the co-main, but the main event was the fight of the night, and the fight that everybody's going to be talking about. If you haven't read the subtitle yet, the reign that no one thought would ever come to an end came to an end tonight. This pay-per-view a 7.0. It's coming off the strength of the co-main and, of course, the shock of the main event that happened this evening. Before we get to that, I was watching it at Buffalo Wild Wings. I bet you every bar in America had the reaction that we did during the main. But before the main, we had the first fight of the night, the main card. We had in the heavyweight division, we had The Big Show. WWE might be suing you for copyright infringement of a name of course, The Big Show, the wrestler. But we have Big Show, the MMA guy, being Jared Rosholt, taking on Stefan Struve, heavyweight division. Now, some heavyweight fights, they can be exciting fights. Like in the example of Losky's fight against Brendan Schaub. No, I think it wasn't Brendan Schaub. It was somebody else. It was back in May. I think it was UFC 187. It was UFC 187. It was Losky against Travis Brown. That was a very great slugfest in the heavyweight division. But then you had other heavyweight fights that are just boring and not exciting. This was one of those boring heavyweight fights. It was just unexciting. And not a good way to start the main card. You know, it was just slow going, not a lot of, there was some okay action, but it was just not exciting. And Rosholt pulling a GSP, because he kept taking down Struve the entire fight, and Struve, he's a striker. And he had some good striking opportunities, but he wasn't given enough because he was taking down every round. With Rosholt being really aggressive. And that gave him the undisputed unanimous victory after 3 rounds. So, I don't know what to rate this, but I'll rate it 1.5. The worst match of the night. So it was just boring, unexciting. It was just, and that was the fight of the Rousey card. The last Rousey card, the 4 fights before the Rousey fight were boring and unexciting. So I was like, we don't want to go through this again. Another boring undercard before we get to a Rousey fight. Thankfully, the second fight turned it around quickly. In the middleweight division, one of the other best fights of the night, besides the 2 co-main and main, was in the middleweight divisions. Whitaker took on Uriah. Way better than the first fight. More faster pacing, more better excitement, more action in this match. Uriah has a good shot scene, but Whitaker is really aggressive, especially with his submission attempts in the very first round. But it was kind of a close fight, you know, like both these guys, great striking. Mostly, I think the first round was mostly the ground and pound with the Whitaker takedown, but then it was mostly striking for the last 2 rounds of the fight. With Hall getting some good shots in, but Whitaker being more aggressive with his striking, which gave him the unanimous victory after 3 rounds. 2.7. Is it my third favorite fight of the card right here. And big improvement from the first fight. I call this the first real fight on the main card after the first fight was just belonged in the prelims on the bottom of the barrel. So it was just unexciting. This was a much different scenario. Very more exciting, way better action, way more excitement. You're not going to hear me say my favorite, if you are a regular reviewer of my UFC reviews when I do make them, one of my favorite phrases is, decent action, not much excitement. Well, you're not going to hear me say that a lot in this review. Well, maybe for the next one. In the heavyweight division, following that great fight between Whitaker and Uriah Holm, you had Mark Hunt against Bigfoot Silva. This was a rematch from a fight they had back in Melbourne, Australia, that went to a draw. So people were looking forward to this fight. Especially how violent it was and how exciting it was. Well, to quote a Public Enemy song, don't believe the hype. This fight didn't live up to the expectations that the last fight gave us. Because it ended in the very first round. After a feeling out period. With the two guys just bouncing off each other. Just bouncing around trying to get a good shot in. Or I like to call that fighting at the lose fight. And just two guys just walk around and dance around for 3 rounds without hitting each other. That's what it felt like for the first couple minutes of the fight. First couple minutes of the round. But then, we got some more aggression. We got some big action in. Boom. Out of nowhere, a big punch from Mark Hunt to the temple. I thought he missed. I saw the replays. I thought he missed it, but it just hit the top of the temple. But if that first shot didn't knock down Silva, the second one did. Boom. 3 minutes in the first round, Mark Hunt gets the victory. 2.0. It's just because it was an exciting ending, good ending, but a lot of people did not expect a one-rounder. People were expecting this fight, probably people who did watch the last fight, were probably expecting another 3-rounder. I think the last fight was a 5-rounder. So people thought it was going to go more than a round. No one thought it was going to end just like that in the first. So it kind of disappointed people who were expecting a great fight out of these guys, especially after the last one was so good. I don't think I even saw that one. I was doing one of the nights I usually don't watch UFC pay-per-views because I'm busy on Saturday nights. I did have a gig, but it was only till 8, so I had time to go to Rousey fight tonight, and especially after the main event, that I made it. So after that, little disappointment between Hunt and Whitaker, Hunt and Silva not delivering the exciting match we thought they were going to bring. We have ourselves the co-main event, second best fight of the night, for the UFC Women's Strawweight Championship. We had Joanna Jedrzejczyk. I need to pronounce that name right. I can't pronounce her name right. Joanna Jedrzejczyk is Polish. Polish names are tough for me to pronounce. Joanna Jedrzejczyk defending her title against Valerie Letourneau. And this fight, even though it didn't provide any decent excitement, it was a great striking match for the most part. It was kind of close. You know, they were almost even. The first round, though, Valerie, the challenger, especially against, in both fights, the champions were the favorite. Especially Joanna. I remember when she won the strawweight title, she just destroyed the champ. The champ didn't even deserve to be in the same wing, not even the same league as Joanna. So we were like, okay, this Valerie chick, she's number 8 ranked. She wasn't going to do much against Joanna. I thought it was going to be maybe a 1 or 2 rounder. But Valerie proved that she was tough enough to face off against Joanna. She was aggressive in that first round, getting some good shots in, and even had a submission attempt against Joanna. And that was the only round that was a round-and-pound round with the submission round. The last 4 rounds were mostly striking. And most of them, they were evenly matched in the striking games. You know, Joanna did get some good shots, especially that. The one shot that everyone's going to talk about is the big kick to the face, just right in the mush, foot to the face, bang, that Joanna delivered to Valerie. That's the one shot everyone's going to be talking about from that fight. Despite Valerie's best efforts, you know, she has a good striking and have that aggressiveness and big offensive fury in the first round. She did some decent strikes in the second and fourth round, but she didn't do enough, in my mind, to defeat Joanna, as Joanna would go on to retain the title by unanimous decision after 5 rounds. 3.0 for this one. Even though I was gonna rate it lower because I thought should have been more excitement in the fight. But for what it was a great striking match. It was kind of back and forth because it was kind of tight. It was kind of close and tight, especially the second and fourth. It was kind of who was gonna win that one. But in my mind, despite Valerie's best effort, she didn't do enough. It's like watching the Johnny Hendricks fight when he took on GSP. Hendricks had some great offense going against the champ. But Hendricks didn't have that one big punch, that one big move to sway the judges in his favor. GSP was more aggressive. Even though GSP was rocked a bit by Hendricks, Hendricks, in my mind, didn't do enough. And a lot of people thought Hendricks should have won the fight against GSP, but GSP won it because Hendricks didn't do enough. Same thing with this fight against Valerie and Joanna. Valerie didn't do enough, in my mind. She was aggressive in the first round, but she lost that aggressiveness in the second and fifth rounds. She still had some good shots in, but they weren't enough. They weren't effective. There wasn't enough effective striking from Valerie to really knock down the champ and really sway the judges in her favor. That's why I think Joanna won the match. And a great effort from Valerie. She has nothing to be ashamed of. At least Valerie got in there and even took a lot of punishment. Her eyes were blacked out. They were bruising up as the fight ended. When the fight was over, her eyes were all blacked up, But she took as much, she gave as much as she took. She gave the punishment as much as she took it from the champion. It's a fun, cool main event. And now, we've come to the main event of the night. Match of the night. And I mentioned earlier in the video, shocker tonight. For the Women's Bantamweight Championship, the Rowdy one. Ronda Rousey defended the title against Holly, the Preacher's daughter, Holm. When this match was first signed, a lot of people were expecting Miesha Tate to take on Rousey for the 3rd time since Miesha Tate won a contenders fight. So when she was passed over for Holly Holm, a lot of people were stunned by that. And people thought, oh, Rousey's just going to kill her. It's going to be like all the rest, especially after the last Rousey match when it was kind of one-sided with that quick knockout against Bertha Koya. So we're like, okay, we expect another Rousey beatdown. Boy, oh boy, were we wrong. The tone of the match was already dictated at the weigh-in. But if the weigh-ins were any indication this fight was going to be aggressive, it proved it. The best Rousey fight I've seen. Better than the last couple fights because it was mostly one-sided. It was exciting. And it was the best Rousey card because, like I said, the last card I saw was headlined by a Rousey fight. The undercard sucked. And the main event didn't add to it because it was only a quick fight after a couple shitty fights. But this card you had, the first fight was, second fight was really good. Third fight was disappointing. The co-main was really good. So heading towards this fight, we were like, okay, what was going to happen here? Like I said, the tone was dictated by the weigh-ins and also at the stare-down to begin the fight. Both girls looked angry. Both girls, when they walked down that ramp in that big stadium, you could tell the fierceness in both of their eyes. They were both ready to kill something, especially Rousey. And I was saying with my friends, I was saying with my friends, Will and Matt, and Will's mom and Matt's brother and my dad. We have a little group watching there in a table with all these people in the back people around me because Rousey's now a draw. Rousey's one of those people, when she's on the main event, you gotta get the UFC pay-per-views at B-Dubs at 8 o'clock because the people are gonna pack it in. If Rampage was on the main event, packed. Silva was on the main event, packed. GSP was the main event, packed. Rousey main event, packed. So when these two girls got in the ring, I was with my friends and I was like, they're not gonna touch gloves. Guaranteed not gonna touch gloves. Holm had her hands out. Rousey just walked away. That set the tone of the fight. And it was aggressively violent early on. As Holly Holm was trying to prove the naysayers wrong by being aggressive in that very first round. Getting some really good shots in on Rousey's pushing a big elbow and punch in the face and blooding her nose up. This is probably the first time I've ever seen Rousey bleed. Because Rousey's wins are most easily done by her, and she never gets cut up or anything much. So when she got bloodied up, I think it kind of flustered her. You can tell she was flustered because after Holm delivered an offensive fury, Rousey tried 3 times during the first round to go to her go-to move, the armbar, which she hasn't won with in a while because the last fight, it was pure knockout. So she tried for the armbar 3 times in that first round, and she couldn't do it. Despite her offensive fury comeback, Holm was still aggressive. In the end of the first, it was like, oh my god, it's better than the last Rousey fight. It's not one side, it's kind of back and forth. And it didn't last 20 seconds, 30 seconds, or a minute. It went more than a round for once. This is probably one of the longest Rousey fights in a while. Probably since the second Miesha Tate fight, which lasted 3 rounds. So here we go, round number 2. Holm was trying to capitalize on her momentum she had during the first round, as she had the offensive fury going. But Rousey was trying to prove that she was the dominant beast in the yard, and she had some big shots in and trying to deliver the big win. As Rousey was trying her best to come back from the fury from Holm in the first round, in my mind, the turning point of the match, of the fight, came when Rousey was going for a big punch to Holm, and Holm spun herself out of it. It's like some sort of matrix spin move. She rolled out of it. That was the turning point. When she rolled out of a punch attempt from Rousey, that was like the turning point of the fight. So Rousey was more flustered than she was in the first round. Then Holm rolled up, got some big moves in, and then she's a kickboxer, by the way, taking on a judo girl. So a kickboxer would get the win here, and boy oh boy, nobody saw this coming. Holm, big kick to the chest, knocks down Rousey. The unbeatable has been beaten. We have a brand new UFC Women's Bantamweight Champion in Holly Holm. Buffalo Wild Wings tonight in Washington Township was stunned. And I think every bar across America and basically every viewing party, whether it was at a bar or at a house, everybody around the world had the same reaction and said the same 2 words. Holy shit. We all thought Rousey was going to kick her butt. But Holm didn't look better than the other ones. Like, the other people that Rousey took on were not aggressive enough. And they were scared. It's like when you took on Silva. Everybody who took on Silva was scared and couldn't do much unless your chair sounded. And of course, eventually, Chris Weidman would finally defeat Silva. Holly Holm played the Chris Weidman card. She was the Chris Weidman to Rousey's Anderson Silva. Rousey, the undefeated, unbeatable champion, who's been aggressive on everybody she's faced. And Holly Holm came right out of nowhere and became really aggressive and eventually would defeat Ronda Rousey. These 2 were undefeated. Going into this fight, they were both undefeated. Going into this fight, with Holm being 9-0 and Ronda Rousey being... She was 12-0 going into the night. So, to see Rousey lose at her first ever loss, was like shocking. Like, that's a shock in itself, seeing Rousey lose at all. But the way she lost, a big, giant kick to the chest, it was like, holy damn. It was like crazy. You know what I mean? Because I haven't watched that much UFC in a while, so I haven't seen much Holly Holm fights. I've seen more Rousey fights. So I just thought, okay, Rousey's just going to beat her up like all of the rest. I think everybody had that impression. But everyone did think Holly Holm was going to bring a lot more than the other competitors. Even though we knew Rousey was going to beat her, we were like, okay, at least Holm may give us a fight out of this, unlike the other people that Rousey's faced, where she just breezed right through them. Well, this wasn't a breeze for Rousey. She had to try to earn that win, especially after the first round, when she got rocked early and kind of I said that word. Kind of razzled early. You know, she was razzled after that first round, especially after the attempts at the armbar failed. But Rousey couldn't pull the win. As we saw the upset, the biggest upset since Chris Weidman defeated Silva. This is the biggest upset we've seen in recent UFC history. And this may not be the last upset, because we got Aldo and McGregor coming up in about a month. The fight that was supposed to happen in July is going to happen next month. There's a lot of rumors flying about Aldo getting injured again, but as of right now, Aldo is healthy and ready to go for the fight against McGregor next month. 3.5 for this, just because of the violence and aggressiveness of this fight. Better than any Rousey fight I've seen, because it wasn't one-sided. Because Rousey had to earn that fight. She had to really earn that win after the first round. But then, boom, the knockout from Holm. The kick that shocked the world. That's probably the tagline. The kick that shocked the world. In my mind, Rousey's getting a rematch. I think Rousey will get an automatic rematch. But I just hope that Rousey doesn't end up like, I'm comparing him to Silva. The Silva was the king of the middleweight division, as Rousey was the queen of the bantamweight division for so long, so dominant, and then got lost. And I remember Silva in his rematch, as we all know, in that rematch against Weidman, Silva suffered a nasty leg injury when he twisted his foot. Gruesome injury. So if Rousey does get the rematch, which she will get one, I hope she doesn't end up having the same fate as Silva, injuring herself in the rematch. So, I bet you a lot of people are going to pick Rousey to win the rematch. Because, going in a rematch, Rousey's going to be very angry, very frustrated at home for getting the win. And she was down. She was frazzled, should I say. Especially after the win, Rousey couldn't get back up on her own accord. She had, a lot of people coming to her. And it was, something we thought we'd never see. Rousey losing it and getting knocked out. It was a first loss and a first loss by knockout. First time she was ever taken down. At all. So it was a big, big, big shock tonight. Big shock. It's like a big upset for Holly Holm, man. Huge. Congratulations to him, man. And also, in this video, prayers go out to Paris, France, after the attack. Doesn't matter if it's maybe an inside job or not. The truth's not out yet. But it is still sad to see anything like that in Paris. So, prayers to you guys out there. So there you go. Terrific fight night. The best Rousey card I've seen. The undercard. 2 fights were good. The co-main was good. The second fight was good. The first fight and the fourth fight was yeah. Third fight was yeah. And of course, Rousey's fight against Holm. Very exciting and very shocking. And that is it for UFC 193 review. Once again, it was a 7.0 out of 10. And I will be reviewing UFC 193. Between McGregor and Aldo, because right now I don't have a game that night, so I will be watching it, and I will be going early, because I said Rousey is a big draw, because UFC, when someone's in the main event and there's a big draw, you gotta get there early, and I know Aldo McGregor, you gotta get there early. Jones and Cormier, another pay-per-view, you had to get there early to get a seat. I learned that the hard way. I had to go to Dave & Buster's, I had to go to 3 different places until I got a seat at a Dave & Buster's. So I won't make that mistake again with McGregor and Aldo, because I know if they're staying here for healthy, it's going to be a hell of a pack. And it's a good card, too. I looked at this card and I was like, but this card kind of delivered. With 2 fights from the first 4 delivered. I already explained it, so I won't repeat myself. So like I said, 7.0 out of 10. Great pay-per-view. Fun pay-per-view UFC. Best one I've seen in a while. Better than the last Rousey card. So there you go. With that in mind, you've been attacked by the review from Zach. Thank you very much. See you later. Yeah.